Perfect. I think that's the first time I've actually remembered at the beginning of the meeting. So good morning. Thanks for joining the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. So I'm just going to go around and say folks' names, and if you just want to introduce yourself with your name and affiliation, and then I will hand it over to our speaker. So I did bump that up earlier on the agenda so that our speaker always knows when they're presenting instead of not knowing how much time we need for updates. So we'll have Emily Vogler from RISD here today. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself first? I guess I should introduce myself in case we have new folks. I'm Stephanie Cavino, and I'm the program manager for the collaborative. Emily?
Great. Hi there, everybody. My name is Emily Vogler. I think I met some of you at possibly a collaborative meeting last year, but it's great to be back. I'm an associate professor of landscape architecture at RISD, and I will be working on a project that I'll be talking more about later in this meeting about focused on the Blackstone River. So look forward to sharing.
Thanks. Thomas Beck?
Yeah, I'm with Metacomet Land Trust.
Thanks. And Ted Bouvet?
Hi, Ted Bouvet. I'm with the Blackstone River Watershed Association.
Thanks, Ted. Dawn Rosser? Do we have your audio, Dawn? How about Ray Kelly, and you can introduce you both.
Hi, I'm Ray Kelly. I am the one of the ZAP 50 coordinators. I'm also on the Millbury Nature Trails Committee. And my cousin, Dawn Rosser, is also working with us on ZAP 50.
Awesome, thank you. I see you're unmuted now, Dawn. Did you want to say anything?
I just, I'm tuning in. I'm interested to hear today's meeting, so.
Thank you. Alex Guardiola?
So Alex Guardiola is actually my supervisor, and I use his Zoom. So when I logged on, I came on as Alex Guardiola. But it's me, Miranda Hotham, with the Worcester Green Corps.
Hey, Miranda. I just wrote both your names down.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. John Marsland?
John Moslin, Blackstone River Watershed Council, Friends of the Blackstone.
Thanks. Nicole Bratzis?
Nicole Bratzis, Blackstone River Coalition.
Thanks. Devin Kurtz?
Hi, Devin Kurtz, Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor.
All the acronyms here today. Francine?
Francine Jackson. I'm chair of Lincoln Rhode Island's Conservation Commission and a member of the Friends of the Blackstone. Thank you.
Thanks. Hillary King?
Everybody, I'm Hillary King. I work for the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs as the MVP, or Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program's Central Regional Coordinator.
Thanks. Phyllis?
Phyllis Charpentier, the Manchog Pond Foundation up on the Mumford River tributary. And I have to apologize, I'm going to have to leave, say about 11:30, but thank you for everything everyone does. Great collaborative.
Thanks. And because we record them, we put them up online later, so you'll be able to access them. Actually, a note on that, Zoom, I guess, is transferring all the recordings over to a different platform now once they're saved. So I have to switch the link from our previous meeting notes, but the recordings do still exist, so I will do that. Dick Moore?
Dick Moore, Heritage Corridor.
Thank you. Adam Menard?
Hi, Adam Menard. I'm the town planner for Auburn.
Peter Coffin? Oh, sorry. Gosh. Peter, do we have your audio? You got it. Okay, Peter's from the Blackstone River Coalition. Donna Kaler.
Hi, Donna Kaler. I'm with ZAP 50 planning team, as well as Keep Blackstone Valley Beautiful.
Thanks. Kate Benson.
Hi, I'm Kate from the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration.
Thank you. Allison Hamill.
Good morning, Allison Hamill from Rhode Island DOT Office of Stormwater Management.
Thanks. Jen Madsen?
Just as I take my tea sip.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm Jen Madsen. I'm the Central Regional Director for Mass Audubon. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for an awesome role that we have right at Broadmeadow Brook in Worcester. It's an education coordinator position. I put the link in the chat. Feel free to connect with me if you have any questions.
Thanks. I will put that in the notes too. I didn't have that one.
Thank you so much.
Joanne Holohan?
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Joanne Holohan, Blackstone River Watershed Association.
Thank you. Richard Friesner.
Happy Friday, Richard Friesner with New Epic. I'm also a scout leader, and I hope that we can get a bunch of scouts to the ZAP 50. I sent an email about that, so let's coordinate on that. Here's a face.
Awesome, thanks. Patty Burke.
Hi, I'm Patty Burke. I'm with Upper Blackstone Clean Water in Millbury. I'm in the pretreatment and lab department.
Thanks. Sarah Bauer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Bauer with the Massachusetts Rivers Alliance. I'm their technical specialist.
Nick Cohen.
Hi there, Nick Cohen. I'm an environmental planner at Worsley Witten Group.
And Kelly King.
Hi, everyone. Kelly King. I'm also with the Horsley Witten Group.
Greg Dorschler.
Greg Dorschler. I'm the Intercollegiate Outdoors Initiative Coordinator with the Greater Worcester Land Trust.
Mike Penko.
I'm with the Metacomet Land Trust in the town of Upton.
Jesse Davis.
Hi, I'm with the City of Worcester Sustainability Project Manager.
Thanks, Jesse. Rebecca Quinones.
Good morning, Rebecca Quinones with the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife.
Thank you. John, I haven't said your last name, I think. Gelchik?
Close. John Gelsich.
Gelsich. All right.
Upton Town Planner.
Thank you. Elizabeth Scott.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Scott, and I am currently serving as the Rhode Island liaison for the Southeast New England Program Network, known as the SNEP Network. Happy to be here.
And we usually also have Kim Groff, who's the Massachusetts version, our Massachusetts version of Elizabeth, I guess. She wasn't able to come today. Jenny Sanders.
Hi, good morning. I'm in the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration with Kate. I'm the Ecological Restoration Partnership Specialist.
Thanks, Jenny. Welcome. Peter Friedland.
Hi, I'm Peter Friedland. I'm a resident of Upton.
Thank you. And let's see. Mark Nemorowski.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Nemorowski. I work for Ride On. I run the illicit discharge program.
Thank you. Donna Williams.
Donna Williams, Blackstone River Coalition and Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor Board of Directors.
Donna's everything. Bryce Dubois. You're on mute, Bryce.
Didn't work. Hi, Bryce Dubois, assistant professor at Rhode Island School of Design and member of the SNEP network.
Thank you. We have Patty McAlpine.
Good morning, Patty McAlpine, Blackstone Valley Tourism Council.
Thank you. And Joe O'Brien? Joe O'Brien.
It's John. Hi, everybody. John O'Brien
Sorry.
with the Rhode Island chapter of the Nature Conservancy.
Thank you. And is there anybody that I missed? Feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself. All right, I think we did a good job. Okay, so thanks everybody for coming. I will hand it right over to Emily. Emily, you should be able to share your screen if you'd like to do so.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me. I know many of you on this call, but it's great to see some new faces, and it seems like an amazing group that is here together in the collaborative. So really exciting to get to talk with you all about some of the things that we've been planning for the summer. Let me go ahead and try to share my screen. Let's see. If I advance, is it advancing for you, Stephanie, when I advance? No, okay.
I think we see your notes.
Oh, my notes.
That might be it.
Let's see.
There you go.
Okay, excellent. Fantastic. So I know that I've presented about our work to some people here on the call, so some of this might be a bit redundant, but there are some kind of further developments that we've been working on. And so I'm excited to get to share it with you all. And we are mostly still in the planning phases of a lot of this work. And one of my hopes of coming today and sharing with you all is that it could open us up to new collaborations, and then we could get some input also from you all on some of the things that we're planning for the summer. And so just to step back, once again, my name is Emily Vogler. I'm an associate professor of landscape architecture and regional planning at RISD. I applied for a National Endowment for the Arts grant 2 years ago now with a colleague of mine, Jose Menendez, who was unable to be on the call today. And we developed this proposal with kind of our shared interest of understanding how we can build a sense of place and use art and design practices to reconnect people to our regional waterways. And we were very grateful to get some funding, a limited amount of funding, but enough to allow for us to move forward on the project. So I'm going to go through some of the things that we're planning and just kind of provide a bit of the framing of how we're trying to approach this work, as well as some of the specific things that we're starting to brainstorm along the lines of this project. So we originally called our project Turning to the Rivers, and the goal is to use art and design to address the environmental challenges that are facing American rivers that have been paralleled by the social crisis of people feeling increasingly socially isolated and disconnected from each other and the places they inhabit. This project will aim to reposition the Blackstone River as a commons, a resource that's shared and protected by a community to be kept open and protected for future generations. It will aim to address these interrelated social and environmental issues through pop-up community engagement events, expedition down the river, and a publication. And so in many ways, I know that many of you work very kind of actively on the stewardship of the river. And essentially we're trying to understand, how do we bring more people in? How do we help to build this sense of community around the river? And we position this, kind of stepping back for a minute, when starting to think about this project, one of our goals was to shift the way that we sometimes think about the work that we're doing. And one of the prompts that we used in thinking about this was, if we could have a conversation with the Blackstone River, what would you say? What would we say? Who are you, Blackstone River? What is your history? What do you need? And most importantly, how can I help to be your guardian, right? Or help to be a steward? And I think that that's a lot of the work that many of you all are also involved in. And so we began to kind of expand on this and really kind of we're gravitating towards this idea of the commons. And we're really excited by the fact that the work that we're doing, the grant that we got, although we did not know that it was going to be taking place this year at the same year as the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the ZAP, that it provided a lot of really interesting opportunities for us to think about our work, right? Both in terms of its relationship to the past work that's happened, but also looking to the future, right? In terms of what still needs to be done. And so one of the goals of our work this year is to acknowledge and celebrate these multiple histories of Blackstone River, and then reclaim it as a commons, as a part of our regional identity, the commons that can hold the many histories that require solidarity, stewardship, and care moving forward. And acknowledging these achievements of the past to improve the cultural and ecological health of the river and chart a course for a vibrant, resilient, and diverse future for the river. And so, like I said, it feels like there's a lot of alignment in terms of looking back and celebrating the amazing work of the ZAP efforts over the past 50 years, but also really trying to be forward-looking in terms of what still remains to be done. What are we all here today, right, in terms of our hopes for the work that we do and the improvements we hope to see along the river. And so, like I said before, commons is an interesting framework. It's something that I work a lot around in my teaching at RISD, because I think it's really important that we think about the commons in our kind of this contemporary moment, and this idea of it being shared and protected by the community, and protected for future generations. And rivers and oceans are some of the last remaining resources that are still held in common by the people. We all, as we know, we all depend on our rivers for drinking water, recreation, sustenance, and many species also, right, depend on the rivers for habitat and migratory corridors, right? So how do we protect and reposition the rivers as a commons that is both made up of the kind of physical resources of the river itself, the open space that's surrounding it, the community members, the stewards, all of us, you know, who are participating in kind of the stewardship of the river, and then the practices that we engage in on a day-to-day basis, right? Whether it's engaging in cleanups along the river, whether it's engaging in kind of regulations, decision-making, management decisions, right? Those are all the practices that are intended to help to steward, right? To maintain and protect and improve, right? Our rivers and these places. And so understanding how we position and how we strengthen this is an important part of the work that we're doing. And so some of the specific things that we are planning for this summer, and they're kind of coming together in a way that's really exciting to me right now, are these kind of three main aspects of our work, and they all work together also. The first one is something that I've spoken about here before, which is this idea of the pop-up community engagement events that we're planning for various events to take place along the river. And the goal with these is really to engage a community in dialogue about the river. The second is Blackstone River expeditions, taking a canoe trip down the river, really trying to inspire action, right? Trying to think forward. How do we get kind of the needed energy and mobilization for this kind of next phase of work on the river? And then the last part is about the kind of Blackstone Commons anthology, collecting and curating stories of the river, right? How do we also collect the stories? How do we recognize this moment in time, which seems kind of an important moment in terms of looking back, but also looking forward. And so the first part, I'm gonna go through each of these in a bit more detail, just so you have a bit more of a sense of what we're planning. So the pop-up community engagement events are really, like I said before, are intended to engage the community in dialogue about and with the river. What are people's memories of the river? What do they perceive as the key issues that need to be addressed? What are their visions for the future? The pop-up stations are going to have interactive activities such as silk screening, a mobile letterpress, letter writing station, interactive maps and models. And people are going to be able to take away materials from the pop-up event that they take home with them that kind of reinforces this idea of the commons that we're all have the shared kind of stewardship, kind of this river, such as shirts, tote bags, postcards, bookmarks, but also we want people to leave their stories, their vision, letters, and gifts for the river as well, right? So we are in the kind of active phase right now of developing the materials that will be for example, what will go on the shirts, what will be the messaging. And we've had some really great conversations with the ZAP 50 group about, what is some of the messaging about, this year that we're hoping to kind of have as a shared message, right? And there's some really great ideas that are coming up. And what's great about this is that we don't have to necessarily choose only one. We could have multiple silk screens with multiple messages. We could have multiple things that we're getting out there, but that are all helping to reinforce the same message, right? Of this kind of as a shared space, and kind of we're all part of this. And so some of the kind of slogans or ideas that we come up with is "Our River, Our Life," which I love, or "We, the Blackstone River," Blackstone Commons. So just these various things that kind of are all helping to reinforce this idea. These are some images of a pop-up events that I did in Fall River a couple of years ago. This was pre-COVID, but you could see we had kind of, we had these different pop-up events. We had people who were silk screening shirts. We had multiple kind of graphics that people could use so that there were choices that people could make. I like that one, or that's the one I really like. And then kind of getting people engaged, right, in the act of also making and artistic practices. So they also feel a sense of ownership over this, the messaging. These are some of the shirts that we developed for Fall Rivers and the graphics. And then, ways of gathering input, right? So these were kind of some creative, we had little flyers. We asked people to fill in information about what their vision was for the future of the city. And we had that as the pop-up events. We had a kind of online campaign. We made these really cute little postcards and had people take photos around the city of things that that they love about Fall River. We also had this kind of story map, this idea of where and how people could kind of contribute their stories about the river, right? So this was really playful, but just a nice way to kind of get the community engaged, right? And sharing their stories, sharing their vision, and sharing their desires and hopes for the future of a place, which we think is really important. And also, just kind of thinking about different ages. This was a very large model that we built of the city of Fall River. And we had these ways that the community could kind of add, notes of like, this is a place that I really love, or this is where I imagine this kind of thing happening, or here we have this issue and maybe we could take care of it. And so there were various ways that we were trying to engage the community in these multiple ages in this conversation about the future of their city. And then also what's great is we have Jose Menendez, my collaborator. He has an amazing graphic design studio here in Providence. They have a letterpress. They have large scale letterpresses, so we can do all of this like old school letterpress style, which is like super exciting. It has amazing old equipment, and they're trying to keep that knowledge of working with printmaking practices alive. And he also has a mobile letterpress, so we could actually bring it out to the pop-up events and do kind of the actual pressing with the community members. So it just adds another layer of kind of interactiveness to the event. And so, and similarly with the silk screening, we could have multiple plates, so we can have multiple messages and people could come, press it, take it home, have bookmarks, have posters and whatnot, that kind of hopefully remain right on their fridge, in their house, right? That just kind of helps to kind of continue the messaging. So that's the kind of main part where we've identified, actually a couple of people on this call here have done a great job of helping us to identify some existing events that are taking place in the Valley this summer. One of our hopes is to go out into the community to, music events, to farmers markets, to things where, people are already gathering, and then to use that as a place for us to host these pop-up events so that we get people who might not otherwise come to events about the Blackstone River, right? Our goal and one of our hopes is to reach out to a broader audience. And so I would love it if anybody knows of things that are happening in the Valley this summer, events that are taking place, please put it in the chat. I would absolutely love any suggestions. Right now we have a couple of great ideas shared by Patty, by Bonnie and others. And so I would just kind of love any ideas that anybody has of, we're looking for a couple of places along the whole corridor so we get a variety of contributions and voices who are kind of providing this input. And so that's the kind of first part of our plans, really with the idea of it being this kind of dialogue, gathering of information, kind of gathering of visions. And then the second part is this idea of taking people on the river, right? One of the best ways to understand the river is to be on the river. And so we've kind of been working with a kind of loose team right now, just to kind of imagine what form this might take. Is it multiple day trips? Is it a whole trip? Do we do portions and then kind of do another portion in the afternoon? We're still figuring out the exact, logistics of this, what it looks like. So we're in the early brainstorming phase right now, but the hope is just to get people on the river. And one of the hopes here is to kind of build on the input that we receive during the pop-up community events, and also the Blackstone Needs Assessment, right, where we've identified some of the key issues that exist along the river. And then in this trip to try to connect community organizers, decision makers, and designers to reflect on some of these histories and also to kind of come together, right, to envision what this future might look like, this resilient, vibrant, and diverse future for the river. Some specific things we might focus on in the trip might include what are some of the climate change impacts, right, that are that we need to be thinking about? What are some of the aging dam infrastructure issues that we might want to go visit? These legacy toxic pollutants, stormwater runoff, extending the greenway. So trying to have it be really targeted in terms of looking at what the key issues are right now, looking, on the river, and trying to use this trip as a way to explore and discuss and have conversations, right, about these issues. The idea is that there might be a core group of people and that during portions of the trip, the group could be joined by maters, by planning departments, by conservation commissioners, the public for part of it. And then along this trip, we might collect artifacts, we might collect sediments, water quality samples. We could go visit some of these dams, inspect them, see the status of them, meet with local community leaders. We could laugh, get wet maybe, and have fun, right? And so that's really kind of the idea of it, right? Is to kind of have a way to be on the river and have these conversations on the river. I met with Suzanne before she retired to talk about the Expedition 2000, and it seemed like that was an event that really did inspire a lot of people. And I love the way she spoke about it. We're not necessarily trying to aspire to kind of the grandeur of what that event was, but trying to understand how we could use similar techniques of getting people on the river, having conversations on the river, visiting some of these sites that might need to be addressed, and using that as a catalyst, right, for thinking about how we could inspire action, thinking about, I like how Stephanie spoke about, having the needs assessment in hand, right, and kind of giving it out to people along the way. So it's really trying to reinforce this kind of this action, right, of kind of what needs to happen next. And like I said, we've kind of put together a loose team right now of amazing folks who've just been contributing ideas, brainstorming about what this is, how it might work, and just kind of appreciate the contribution of everybody involved. Stephanie has we've been discussing this a lot and really excited about how it ties into the needs assessment. Bryce from RISD has also been kind of on board brainstorming. John Marsland from Friends. Bonnie Combs has been providing amazing connections to the other people in the Valley. And then Frank Corteza, who's the president-elect of the Rhode Island Paddle Association, just recently jumped on board and is also excited, right, to start to think about how, because the original Expedition 2000 was also the start of the paddle, the RICA, right? And so it's great to think about how they might also participate in terms of, bringing some of their paddlers out to be guides, to help out, kind of help with this process. So I'm really excited about just brainstorming, and would look forward to anybody else who might want to brainstorm of what this might look like. And I know Don and Williams provided these maps for Bonnie, which was like super exciting. So these were going back to 2000. These were the maps that they used on the expedition, which is so great because I've been trying to get more details about like, what did they do? Where did they go? What were they looking at? And so these maps were just like an amazing kind of resource to see and to understand some of the things that were important in 2000, the way that they approached the trip, and how we might reimagine that, right? Or these portions of the trip for this coming year. And so this is kind of really exciting to me. And like I said, really the goal is to be on the river, having discussions about the future of the river. And then the last part of this project is really kind of looking more into the fall. And the idea is it's a culmination, a collection of this work into some sort of anthology, right? Something that lives on beyond this year. It could be a publication that is a vessel to hold, to document, inspire us to reflect on these histories and the relationships we have with the river. Right now, there are 5 main components we're imagining. One is invited essays, where we invite specific authors to speak to these multiple perspectives and the voice of the Blackstone River. Letters, this idea of kind of putting a call out to the community to write letters to the river. That could be this kind of moment of, if you had a conversation with the river, what would you say? If you could write a letter to the river, what would you say? And I like this idea of, and Patty and I've been doing a bit of brainstorming about this, but I'm really excited about putting together a call that we could then get out to the community, get out to the schools, and we could kind of just collect these voices of the community in the Valley. Archival materials, it's been great to hear from Ray and Dawn about all these archival materials that they have from the ZAP events. It would be wonderful to find a way to share that more broadly and to kind of really celebrate the amazing work of ZAP and to have that archival materials included in this document. Bryce has been doing a lot of interviews, and the hope is to get other interviews where we get more people's voices talking about the river. And then also a way of kind of including these gifts for the Blackstone River, right? These creative pieces, whether they're artwork or poetry, and finding a way to kind of curate that through the book. This is an amazing book that Jose, my collaborator, put together these past 2 years. It's called The New Farmer's Almanac. And he and his partner put together this really beautiful, it's an anthology, essays, kind of short essays, but with the idea of, having something that people have around, right? That helps to build that idea of the river and the community and these stories of the river. These are just some kind of initial ideas we have of some of the possible essays that we might want to get people to contribute to talk about these many histories. And I would love, kind of anybody has any ideas. I've got some initial ideas of who might be good to write some of these essays, but I would love if anybody wants to follow up with me, I'll put my email in the chat. And I'd love just any other ideas of who might make a good contribution to this anthology, to the kind of writing about the river. And I think, what I'm excited about is, there's all these things that are aligning, both, the work that we're doing, the Blackstone Watershed Needs Assessment, the ZAF 50 events. And in reading through the needs assessment, I think there's a lot of ways that our work aligns and helps to support the work of the collaborative, in terms of communications campaign. Our goal is to have this be a way to get the word out, and, connects to people's values, lived experiences, sense of place. So I feel like there's a lot of alignment there right now in terms of the work that we're planning to do this summer. While we're not going to be installing educational signage, it might be that there's stuff that we developed this year that could help to lead to the next phase, right, of envisioning what type of educational signage might be an appropriate, or might be of interest for the Valley. And then I think augmenting existing youth education. One of our hopes here is to really, like I said, reach out to people who might not otherwise participate in events around the river through these pop-up events. And so getting out into the broader community is one of our goals. And our hope is that, that it is serving both the purpose of education, right, of kind of talking about the river, but also of bringing people in and feeling part of the commons, right, feeling part of the community that is oriented around the river. And so really, I think fundamentally what we're trying to do is to see kind of how can we use art and design to rebuild our connection to water, rivers, places, and each other. And I'll just kind of end with this great kind of quote from Maori, which says, I'm the river and the river is me. And I think that really kind of embodies a lot of the work that you all are doing on the river and that we hope to kind of inspire, right, in the community as we go out and have conversations about the Blackstone River. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and open it up to kind of any questions that you all might have about our work. Like I said, I'll put my email in the chat. I would love for anybody to follow up with ideas or like, hey, I want to be part of that. Or like, here's a place that's doing an event, or here's a person who would be great to write an essay. So just any kind of ideas you all have. Like I said, we're in this kind of planning phase right now, and we're doing kind of a lot of planning with a lot of people to put all this stuff in, in order for the coming year. But still super open to ideas and really kind of excited about this as a collaborative effort, right? That kind of builds on all the work that we're doing and helps to connect a lot of the work. So.
Thanks so much, Emily. If anyone has questions or comments, I know there are a couple in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Hi, Emily, Stephanie, this is Patty.
Hi, Patty.
As you know, I'm anxious to get together with you, Emily, to kind of talk about the letter writing piece and the poetry piece so that I can sort of tie in my idea for the April poetry walks. And I was trying to take a picture of a book, but the other thing as far as the publication, maybe we could meet at Stillwater Books where I could hook you up with Steve Porter, who runs Stillwater Publishing.
Okay.
My good friend, Bill Carpenter, who is with Ocean State Poets, just recently published a book, Imperfect Mirrors, Indelible Myths. And just bear with me, I just want to share one little poem from this book called River Mist. At dawn, the sleeping river sheds its skin in a sinuous mist, slithering over embankments, a ghostly serpent rising above its fluid body to unhinge its jar and swallow the landscape before the sun rises high enough to evaporate the insatiable apparition. So he's one of the poets I'm going to be working with. So I'd like to, hopefully we can maybe try to get a meeting together so we can figure out how we can work, him and maybe some other poets from Ocean State Poets. Maybe even having a poet available at the pop-up events, whether it's me or somebody else, and definitely put me down on the planning for the expeditions, because Tourism Council, we do have some kayaks and a shed where we keep them at our landing. So
fantastic, Patty. Well, let's I know we've been kind of crossing a lot of emails, Patty, but next week is really open for me, and I'd love to have a chance to chat, and get together in person to talk about this, because that all sounds great.
Sounds good. You can meet me at our new headquarters at the landing.
Awesome. I'd love to check
it out. It's a nice day. We can head out to the our balcony
The deck.
area. Yeah, the deck.
Awesome. That sounds great, Patty. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other quick questions or comments?
Emily joined the ZAP 50 meeting that we had last Monday and the previous one. So we've heard a lot about what she's doing, and it seems to line up very well with what ZAP's doing. And I think it lines up well with what the collaborative does as a whole. So it seems like, again, a lot of good synergy there.
Absolutely, Ray. And I think Jose and I plan to join next Monday as well. And I think we've been kind of sharing stuff and look forward to, continue sharing where we're at. So
See you then.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, Emily, this is Ted Beauvais from BRWA up in Massachusetts. And I really like your concept of the commons and thinking of the river and maybe the watershed to some degree, but particularly the river as the commons. And of course, we're all familiar with the tragedy of the commons and the fact that when you have something like that, it's easy to kind of pollute and degrade those commons, and that's happened so many places, and certainly it's happened with the Blackstone. So I think it's something, it's an effort that I think can help to reverse that trend or make people aware of all the history and what's gone in there, and be forward thinking about what we can do to make it a better place for all of us going forward. It fits nicely with the needs assessment and the ZAP 50. I think that the timing's perfect.
Excellent. Thanks, Ted. Great. Peter, I think, Peter, you have a question?
Peter, I asked you to unmute, but you're also welcome to put it in the chat if you can't. Oh, there you go. You got it. Here it says you're unmuted if you're connected to audio. All right, go ahead and put it in the chat when we.
Yeah. Peter, feel free to put anything in the chat, or also be happy to have a follow-up conversation. Give me a ring. I think you have my number, so we could also, I'd love to continue talking about this.
And just
I just wanted to chime in and say that I absolutely love what you're doing, Emily. That I love this whole concept too. That's why I tuned in today to hear more about it, and I think it's really. I think my grandfather would love it. Yeah. Yeah, because it's like really, it's so great. Yeah, it's really consistent with protecting the floodplains all along the river from Worcester to Providence. It's about getting people involved. The river now belongs to the people. That was something that that he's known for saying. And yeah, it's I love it. I love it so much. So I'm happy to share with you so much of the archives. And actually today I was going to be sending out. I was going to share with you like a letter from like the time machine. It's like a thank you letter that my grandfather wrote to like all the Zapsters, and in it also he was saying like what else needs to be done. And so I'm happy to share that with you. I was going to share that actually today, but I didn't get to it.
Excellent, Don. Yeah, I know that you've been working hard in the kind of archive and timeline, and I'd love to see it and think about also how the publication can, like I said, be a way to share that more broadly, right, with people who might not be in this group and be aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to share that.
Yeah, the images, the video and the images that I've seen of it are amazing and really inspiring. The posters, all that stuff. And so it'd be great to kind of include that.
I just want to highlight, so Peter put in the chat, he said, we need to have campfire meetings in addition to the trip on the river. It's hard to organize public on the river, I think is what he means, public and the river. And also to highlight, Rebecca put in the chat that there's, if Mass Wildlife can collect fish for a show during the show and tell expedition, if you'd like to do that. And also Joanne Holohan noted that BRWA is having a family fun day coming up in June. So that might be a good opportunity to do a pop-up event. So
fantastic.
I'm going to keep this moving along on the agenda, but I really appreciate Emily spending all this time to present to us and all of your questions and comments. And please feel free to follow up with her.
Great. I'll just say, I'll put my email in the chat here, and please feel free to follow up with me. We'll definitely be sharing more information with the collaborative as we start to specify dates. Would love, for anybody to participate in any way. And we are also, if anybody has ideas, we are probably, like I said, we got a little bit of funding from the NEA, which has kind of allowed for us to kind of move forward with this project, but we will be looking for some additional funding for materials for, our hope is to build a model that could kind of move down the river with us and be a place for kind of interactive, people to interact with the model. So if anybody has ideas of any kind of grants or mini grants, that are either available through the various organizations that you all know of or anywhere else, we're looking for something that could help to cover some of the material costs that'll go into, the kind of the ink for the silk screening, the screens for the silk screening, the paper. And so if anybody has any ideas, please feel free to follow up with me for, what might be some possible paths for us to go down for some mini grants or some other grants that would just help to make us be able to do this work, and kind of bring it to its full completion.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily.
Great. Thank you all for having me.
And I have her email in the notes as well, and please follow up. So next on the agenda, we have our subgroup updates. The first one is the municipal resolutions supporting the needs assessment. So we have, sorry if you can hear the cats in the background, they're very angry. We have passed this in like animal fight going on here. We've passed it in Millbury. We've passed it in Cumberland, Rhode Island, Lincoln, Rhode Island. And this is what happens when you try and introduce a new cat. If anyone's been through that, that's what's going on right now. The dog is trying to stand up for one of the cats. It's a whole thing. It was a bad day to try and do this yesterday. Sorry. So we passed in 3 Rhode Island municipalities, 1 so far in Massachusetts. We're waiting. We're on the Board of Selectmen meeting in Uxbridge coming up. And also, I don't know if Dick Moore, you were also going to be on an agenda for Uxbridge. I don't know if you've already had that meeting about the bikeway, but if you want to note that afterwards, also, we'd be happy to support you when you go to that meeting.
It was last Monday.
It was. Okay. Well, I'll give you a second to tell us about it when we get to that bikeway update, but that's good. So we're looking for Uxbridge. Northbridge is looking at their Concom. Upton, they're looking at their Concom. So we're moving ahead there. I keep saying this, I need to make a chart of all the different municipalities and where we're working and what we've passed so far. So Grafton is another one. I'm going to elbow Donna just a tiny bit on that one if you want to poke them again for me. I see Adam's on the call. Do you want to pass a resolution to support the needs assessment? I can follow up with you on that, send you a draft agenda, or send you a draft resolution, send you a draft of the presentation that we do. Is there any other municipalities on the call that hasn't passed it yet?
Stephanie, this is Ted Beauvais. I'm meeting with the Sutton Town Planner on Tuesday, and I'm using the Millbury resolution as a model, but you said you have some other information that maybe I could use.
Yeah, so I did talk to Sutton as well. And I'll follow up with them and copy you, or I can send you the information. I have just a PowerPoint that I've been using. I'll send that to you as well. Thank you, Ted.
And I'm going to hand out to Jen Hager, the town planner, I'm going to hand out a hard copy of the needs assessment.
Thanks.
Because I suspect you still have a lot of those you'd probably like to distribute.
Well, I got a new box of them from Narragansett Bay, so now I do, yeah. Okay. We ran out of the first printing, which is awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen her in person yet, so that would be wonderful. And she's heard about this once before, so it'll be a good follow-up.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but thank you, everybody.
Stephanie, I'll just give you a quick update on Grafton as far as the resolution. I had forwarded what you had crafted based on Milbury's for Grafton. I had forwarded it to Grafton's town planner, Chris McGoldrick, and he has put it in the hands of the selectmen. So I will follow up with them and see just where it is on the selectmen's desk, but I will let you know.
Thank you. And Joanne, were you going to say something? No? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. For ZAP 50th, I know you guys are doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And so I don't want to take up too much time because I know you have other meetings as well that you're going through all of this. But if there are specific updates, maybe about the website that you want to share or specific asks for this group, let us know.
Yes, I will try to be brief today. We were a good length last time. So back to the, you're talking about the municipalities, the ones that we have listed, because there's two resolutions. The ones that we have listed on the website are North Smithfield, Central Falls, Burrillville, Central Falls is there twice, Woonsocket, East Providence, and Millbury. So can I share my screen? I got a short presentation this time. All right. Let's see from beginning. All right. So keep this brief. Again, my name is Ray Kelly. So what is ZAP 50 for those who haven't seen, haven't had much exposure? It's really a collaboration, another collaboration of Blackstone River and watershed professionals and volunteers working to make a significant positive impact within the watershed by building on current and historical momentum for change and improvement. And we expect the short-term successes of ZAP 50 this year will re-energize efforts to affect long-term change and improvements in the watershed. And apologies if I'm reading, but that seems to be the best way to get through this. So there's a whole bunch of different needs assessment that we are going to be directly supporting or indirectly supporting. So again, synergy, alignment, it's all right there. And Stephanie covered this a good amount on the agenda today, which is great. A lot of ZAP related stuff in there. But just to go over it quickly, August 27th, we're hoping to get 10,000 people participating in cleanup and green up and improvement projects throughout the watershed, not just at the river. And September 10th, we're going to celebrate the foundational turning point, which was ZAP Day in 1972. And we want to get people participating, similar to Emily, in outdoor activities and tourism that are possible because of those 50 years of progress. And then throughout the whole time, before and after and during, we want to get people excited and involved in the Watershed Collaborative and partner organizations and maintain that overall momentum. So what are we doing right now? The zaptheblackstone.com website had a major refresh that was published. It's out there, and that's continuing. It's going to be improved as we go along. And that's really our hub for information and contact, volunteer sign up, and project submissions. We really need volunteers, and we really need projects. One feeds the other. We're also, a big portion of that is the history of ZAP, and which includes not just ZAP, but also the watershed. Things like the Heritage Corridor and how that really traces its history back, to the 70s to ZAP. So from then to now, and it's constantly being updated. And we're getting a lot of news coverage. We expect that to continue. These are the highlights of what we've had recently. There's a big spread coming out in the Telegram and Gazette in March. We're meeting every 2 weeks with our steering team. We have some smaller teams formed. They're making great progress. We also have local captains and coordinators where we're trying to cover all the towns in the watershed. Depending on who you ask, there's 39. So we have a bunch of people who are either temporary or hoping to be, or I should say, they're either just kind of standing in at the moment, or they're going to be the people through the whole time, being the captains and coordinators for their local towns, ones they're familiar with. And just like with the resolutions, we are interfacing with the municipalities as much as we can. We're trying to understand their local needs and also, present ZAP 50 and the collaborative as, as things that are, ongoing and making great improvements. And we really want to get people involved. And so I guess it's really 6 so far. We're also trying to contact all relevant groups that might have needs or want to contribute, like the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all sorts of local places, schools, colleges. There's all sorts of groups out there that we're trying to get in touch with and really bring into the fold here. Come on. And as it shows on the agenda, we're working on, watershed events somewhere in the watershed, 3rd Saturday of each month, March to July. And we're posting those on zapblackstone.com. I'm sure Stephanie's going to be, keeping folks informed through the agenda and other information also. And we also have some other activities within the steering team planned. And then, so what can other organizations do for ZAP? So I will turn that, I have two more slides after this real quick, but I will turn this over to Donna, because she has some things to say. Oops, I think I pressed the wrong button. All right, there we go. Donna.
So hi, everyone. I'm Donna Kaler. Keep Blackstone Valley Beautiful with the Tourism Council, Blackstone Valley Tourism. I just refreshed the whole ZAP website. So there was a lot more information on. Definitely would love ideas, thoughts, things that I might have missed. But the new thing is we're really looking for the volunteers to start signing up and talking with different groups and all. They're interested. So the other part of that is having some projects. So if there's a project or a green up project that you want to do, or a litter area, we're going to ask you to just start submitting those. So when people look and see what they can do in a certain community, they say, oh, this is a good fit, or just even give them some suggestions on what areas that they might do, or things that they might see that they might not have thought as a project. So the list, we started a list. It is in the Google Drive, and I can make that more easily found on the website. So we just really want everyone thinking about what we can do, get out, have some fun. I've noticed when the groups that I'm talking with, whether it's a community group or the municipalities here in Rhode Island, they're very excited to be part of this big momentum once again. So I think that's a good opportunity we have to share. The other thing we were looking to do, if anyone is interested, is share events leading up to it. And I just started thinking of different ways. Maybe it's a Zoom call where different organizations share what they're doing. Like for me, I do a lot of litter cleanups. I'll probably do a Zoom, how to host a safe litter cleanup. Maybe if there's a way we can say what we're doing with water testing, or invasive species, or storm drains, the problem of storm drains, why does it matter? So I thought we could get some informational things just out on a weeknight on a Zoom. And I thought that could be fun to introduce people to these issues and be able to interact and talk, as opposed to going to just a website and reading about it. So that's where we're at. The website, like I said, is zaptheblackstone.com. I'll put it in the chat. And if you do have questions, I don't think I put an info link to connect to our office, but I'll put that in the chat, and that will be fixed later today. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
All right, I'm going to take back over real quick. Come on, share. There we go. And then there's, what can individuals do? And these are all the major activities that, we're trying to get people involved with. We need those volunteers to help us. So something for everyone. Come on, next slide. Come on, you can do it. So like Donna said, zaptheblackstone.com, zaptheblackstone.com, zaptheblackstone.com. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Things are really moving along. So please join us. We're meeting this coming Monday and every 2 weeks. So happy to have you.
And Richard, I know you sent a message about getting some Boy Scouts together. It's really exciting. I don't know if you want to, shoot Ray a message or attend that meeting on Monday, but we appreciate it.
Yep, I sent him a note, so we'll get it set up.
Awesome.
Yes, and we actually, this is Patty again. We did receive an email from Richard about the Boy Scouts, which I then forwarded to Bonnie and John Marsland. John Marsland might be able to help out with the camping request, Richard. And that's what Bonnie thought too. So, so hopefully if you can touch base with John Marsland at the Watershed Council. He might be of assistance because he's worked with a lot of scouts along the river there at Sycamore Landing.
Sounds great.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. There's a lot going on. It's very exciting. We will definitely be talking about that after our partner updates. So stay tuned. All right, Parkway Greenway. I'll hand it right over to Dick Moore if you want to give us an update on that.
Sure. The Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor Board has been, last couple of months, has been working on its work plan for the next 3 years. And among our top priorities is the bikeway, which is also a priority of the collaborative. And we're at a point now where we're ramping up advocacy with particularly with our legislators in both parts, both Rhode Island and Mass, and the governors of both states, because there's a lot of money out there, mostly in federal money that has come to the states and to localities. And there's also, at least Massachusetts and I think Rhode Island both have a surplus in their state funding as well. So there's an opportunity in 2 bills in Massachusetts. One is the capital bond bill, happens to be House 4336, where we're looking at sections of the bikeway to try to get funded. And then there's the budget, and that includes not only some bikeway stuff, but also we're looking at the watershed management program for the testing program to try to get $75,000 in the budget to get some new equipment. And we want to get the river so that Donna Williams can swim in it someday. And that's her goal. I don't know if she's going to eat any of the fish yet, but she's willing to swim. And so Dan DuPont, who's a former senator in Rhode Island, is going to lead our effort to contact the Rhode Island officials. We're dealing with Massachusetts to get them to support it. Fortunately, and we've got a lot of folks writing letters and emails, but the Regional Chamber of Commerce had a breakfast with Mass legislators last Friday, and all of them indicated support for the bikeway. So we're hoping they follow through, and we're reminding them to follow through with that support, with actually advocating and voting and offering amendments and stuff over the next couple of months, because both the bond bill and the budget over these next probably 3 months are going to be a critical time to try to get some money committed. We met with Bob Contorsi, who's our bikeway chair, and I met with the Uxbridge Selectmen last Monday and presented with them an update on 2 segments in Uxbridge that we're working on. One that we've had some preliminary design from the end of the current bikeway in South Uxbridge north to Depot Street, actually the intersection with Route 16. And a second one, which we actually applied for a trails grant from Massachusetts from Depot Street to the McCluskey building, the former high school, and to the Heritage State Park. That one, we're hoping to get, the grant comes in June, July when they announce it, and go from there for design of that section. And then we're in the process of lining up easements from the first segment in Uxbridge, because it's much of it's along the Uxbridge sewer line, which already has easements, but we're going to get the town to convert them to easements for the bikeway as well. So we're making some progress in that regard. I think you have somebody on the line from RIDOT, from Rhode Island Department of Transportation. One of the things we're trying to find out from the Rhode Island side is we know there's some gaps. I know that, for instance, in Woonsocket, there's a few gaps in where the bike path is supposed to go. We're looking for an identification of where those gaps may be in Rhode Island, if somebody can help us with that, so that we can advocate with the Rhode Island General Assembly and the governor to get funding to begin to work on closing those gaps. And we have 2 projects already in final design, ready to bid. One is the segment in Blackstone, which is using the old viaduct, which links from the end of the current constructed trail in the Blackstone's railroad station, Monument Square, to the Rhode Island border. And then we need to have the Rhode Island border link with us too, and have it'll be planting the golden spoke probably rather than the golden spike, but an opportunity for the 2 states to really come together in a promotional way to further publicize the benefits of the river. One other point I'd raise is we've recognized John Marsland was on this call with a Chafee Award this year, and Senator Reed. We're looking with Senator Reed's schedule to try to set up a presentation of that in the next few months in Rhode Island, probably around Slater Mill, but we're not sure yet. And we already have a date, April 11th, at I believe it's at 10 o'clock at the Blackstone Valley Vocational High School in Upton, to present to Congressman McGovern, who's also a recipient of the award. And we have another volunteer who's been leading our cemetery restoration program, and students at the vocational school who helped with the signage that we're going to be honoring at that event as well. And they're public events, so anyone can come. And it's also an opportunity in both cases, particularly with McGovern on the House side and Reed on the Senate side, to perhaps have a minute with them or so to thank them for all their help in getting Blackstone Valley recognized through the corridor and the historical park, but also to let them know that there are other needs involved, and if they want to continue the legacy of John Chafee in the environment, they need to step up to the plate and get us some money for both the Heritage Corridor, for the bikeway, and for anything else that we need that will advance the 20 goals, 20 action items of the Narragansett study that was done, because volunteers are very important, but so is money.
Thank you. There's a lot going on there. It's really exciting. I'm trying to take notes. If I miss anything, please email me and clarify those, and I'll fix the notes.
Hi, Stephanie, this is Patty again. I just wanted to jump on with what Dick Moore said about the Rhode Island side, and I'm probably not the best person. Bob probably would have more information about where the gaps are. But I do know that there was a portion completed on the bike path in Central Falls, a very small portion off-road, just across from the prison there behind Pierce Park, and it kind of runs up through along to one of the side streets off of High Street in Central Falls, not too far from the track. That was just recently completed, if you hadn't seen that in the news. And I do know that one section that still needs to be done is in Pawtucket to connect up to Central Falls from behind the area where the William Blackstone Monument is up by Tolman High School. So I'm not sure what the status of that is, but those are 2 places that I'm aware of. But again, Bob in my office, Bob, he has been involved with the Rhode Island section. And I did see a note pop up from Allison from Rhode Island DOT, so maybe she can answer that question as well.
Yeah, thanks, Allison. That's a really good resource if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that there is a lot of GIS mapping for DOT, and they do have an interactive bike map, which is the link that I posted. I don't personally do a whole lot with the bike trails and all of that, but there's a nifty map there.
Awesome, thanks. And I know Pawtucket put in a grant for a federal grant to complete a section of the bikeway as well there with all the new downtown work, redevelopment that they're doing. So if they get that grant, then it'll expand it a bit more. Any more bikeway updates or greenway updates that people want to provide? Okay, so next is water quality. Anyone have any water quality updates? I know I did mention a couple about trying to get funding for water quality monitoring. And to be totally clear, I am providing you with this legislative information so that you can act on it if you would like, but I'm not allowed to advocate. I am only allowed to educate. So I'm just sharing this information with you if you guys want to advocate.
I'd just like to speak to Dick Moore's update. He is a master at working the system. So we're very lucky to have him and his skills. So he has added an amendment to a particular budget item that hopefully will slide through and get additional funding for the water monitoring program. I think that Nicole is on. I'm the cheerleader. I am not the scientist or data collector. So if Nicole would like to jump in to give us an update, that would be great.
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Donna. We are getting ready for the 2022 sampling season. So we're getting all our supplies ready, and that'll start. It'll be the second Saturday of month starting in April, going through November. And we have our teams pretty much ready to go, but we are looking for additional volunteers for the upper sites, a few for the middle sites, and then definitely for the upper and for Rhode Island sites, we're looking for volunteers. So if anyone's interested in volunteering one Saturday a month from April to November, we could use some help. I'll put my email address in the chat. And as far as our data, I know everyone's looking forward to seeing that. We did meet with the programmer for that. So we're trying to get our database up and running so that we can have that data available so that we can send that out. So we are making some progress on that. So that'll be really nice when we're able to send that data out for the last couple of years so that people can use that and see what everyone's been doing for that program.
Awesome, thank you. Any other water quality updates? Okay, I know there's a lot been going on with university work as well. And thank you to Peter for keeping me in the loop there. Peter, do you want to mention anything about what you're working on or others working in universities?
Which Peter are we talking to here?
You, Peter Friedland.
No, I don't have any updates. I'm just very interested to be hearing all the different things that are going on here. It's fabulous.
Well, I'll say for you. So Peter has been working on putting together a proposal for a conference to get some different universities talking about how we can create, be most effective in climate change resilience in our universities and getting students involved in both on campus and students thinking about, what we can do to improve climate resiliency in our communities. So it's pretty exciting. Anyone else from universities? Yeah, you're welcome. Any universities that you want to mention anything? What you're working on or projects, funding, volunteers? Okay. And lastly, is there anything on Switch Passage or other things that people want to mention specifically about progressing needs assessments before we transition into general updates?
Just an update on the Massachusetts invasive species legislation, and also certainly the Mass Rivers Alliance and Mass Audubon have been working on this for quite a while. But the Blackstone River Watershed Association is engaged in this now, and there was a draft, and now there's a new draft and some changes and improvement, mainly due to, I think, the work of partners like Mass Rivers Alliance and others. And I think the bill is better. We think the bill could still be improved. Our main concern has to do with implementation, that you're only ever going to have a small number of state employees working on invasive species, and you need to leverage and multiply that. And the legislation does talk about partnerships, and it talks about citizen science. So it's going there in a little bit. We think it could go a lot further. we're advocating for an invasive species paraprofessional program. And that would mean that the state would develop training and curriculum that people who are interested could take that. They could be certified. Maybe there'd be an aquatic certification versus an agricultural versus a forestry and open space, or different categories of invasive species paraprofessional certification. And then those people can be the eyes and ears and hands and minds and advocates for being out there to try to address this, because it's so widespread, it's so fast moving. Many of these species are very aggressive. The state bureaucracy is only going to be able to do so much, and this bill will get the state doing more. Don't misunderstand, but I think there's room for more. We think that the coordinator for the state should have discretion to do invasive species grants, just kind of small dollar amount grants that they can unilaterally issue, so it doesn't have to, everything doesn't have to go through a big formal process. You know, there's several things we think could be improved. There's the towns now with the conservation commissions. If you want to go after one of our favorite or least favorite species, the water chestnut, in some towns you have to go through the same permit process as if you wanted to do a mechanical or herbicide treatment of a whole lake or something. And this one, particularly the water chestnut, lends itself to volunteers doing manual removal with proper disposal. It really can work. And the state Fish and Wildlife, their magazine a couple months ago had an example of where a few state wildlife employees have gone out and done that. So we think there's some room for improvement. We're going to be advocating for that, but we're happy that there is legislation and hope it can move forward and get completed.
I can give a short update on fish passage, if you'd like. Mike Jarrell isn't on the call, but the Nature Conservancy works closely with him on this. And we're talking about what we call phase one, which is trying to get fish passage at Main Street, Slater Mill, Elizabeth Webbing, and Valley Falls. I've been working on this as a staff on TNC staff, and as well as being 37 years with Rhode Island Division of Fish and Wildlife. If this wasn't a remote meeting and we were all meeting together, you'd see the age spots on my hands and the wrinkles on my face, which indicates how far back I go with this. I'd just like to notice to everyone that this is probably the most complicated and most expensive fish passage project that you'll see in the New England region. And I'm encouraged that some of the recent developments, mainly with Mike taking over and facilitating a project committee, working with DEM and reaching out to the federal agencies. I'm encouraged to see that there's probably more progress in this in the last 6 months than there has been in the last 6 years. But there just are a lot of moving parts. And I know that the watershed is frustrated with what has been going on in the past, what hasn't been done. But I'm encouraged to see some of the recent progress, the discussions with Army Corps, the discussions with NOAA, some of the discussions with Old Slater Mill Association, some of the potential land transfers that are going to occur. So I will talk to Mike, and maybe at the next meeting or some meeting, he can bring you up to date on a lot of the work that he has been doing on this.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's the update that I keep hearing, is that there's a lot of progress going on and it's very exciting. So it's neat for people like me to step in and just say, like, wow, there's so much happening and it's overwhelming, but I know you guys have been working on it for decades. So you definitely deserve a kudos there for bringing it up to the next step. Okay, Well, let's transition into our partner updates. So feel free, if you've got an event going on, if you've got a new hire, if you've got a project that you want people to know about, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, put it in the chat. John.
Yes. Oh, thank you, John O'Brien, for your dedication to that fish ladder project. It's much appreciated. And I'm glad there's some good news coming out of that. We have an update. The Friends of the Blackstone produced a film called Kickatuck Speaks, and we're having a premiere on Earth Day, Friday, April 17th at 7 p.m. at the Blackstone River Theater. It's going to be a free event, so everyone's invited. Just mark your calendars if you'd like to attend. And Emily, maybe we could do a pop-up event at that screening.
And Don, for folks that don't know, what does that mean, Kittikuck Speaks?
That's the native word for the Blackstone. They called it the Kittikuck, and it's spoken as the river by Bruce Curlis, a Nipmuc, and he wrote the words, and Gian Mancini took all the drone footage, and it's a very nice film. It's under 11 minutes long.
It's really beautiful. I definitely recommend that folks see it. I got an early preview. I'll put that in the notes. Thank you.
John, would you mind tapping the date into the chat just so we could kind of get it in my notes? I didn't quite catch it when you said the date.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Hillary, very good one. We definitely want to note all the grants that are coming up.
Steph?
Yeah, Joanne?
Just 2 events coming up, and I did send you the save the date flyers. I don't know if you can share those with the group. And the first one is our annual meeting, which has been delayed because of the pandemic. Our annual meeting is going to take place on May 18th, and we are going to have a fantastic presentation called Packagug, Where the River Bends. And it's a documentary film that explores important Nipmuc sites at on Packagug Hill. It was produced by Sarah Loria, professor from Holy Cross, and it features Colin Novick of the Greater Worcester Land Trust, and also Thomas Doughton, a senior lecturer at Holy Cross, and Cheryl Tony Hawley is in that video, but she's also going to present with Colin at the annual meeting event. So mark your calendars, I guess is what I'm saying for that. We're going to do the presentation at the Grafton Public Library in the community room. And it's going to be on a Wednesday evening because that was the best time for Colin to do the presentation. And more information will be forthcoming about registering and all of that. The other event coming up is one I shared, Family Fun Fishing Day. This is our 7th annual. This is traditionally a very popular event. We had a lower number of people there when you were there, Steph, in October because of the pandemic. I anticipate a really good crowd this year, and I'm excited to connect with Emily about having them present for that event. That'll be at Riverbend Farm, and the date is June 4th, Saturday, June 4th. It's all ages, all abilities. Everyone is welcome. Riverbend Farm is handicap accessible, and we Mass Fisheries and Wildlife provides fishing poles. We provide bait and a wonderful fishing instructor. So it's a lot of fun, and we'd like to see as many people as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. And can you just mention for your annual meeting, what time it is? You said Wednesday, May 18th.
Yes, it is. It'll be at 6:30 in the evening. It'll start and end around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Thank you. Jen.
Thank you so much. For those of you who might not have been on, I just want to plug one more time our education coordinator position. I put it in the chat again, but I also wanted to talk about next week on the 24th, February 24th at 11 a.m. We are hosting Congressman Jim McGovern at Broadmeadow Book to talk about, he's going to be doing a press conference around the ARPA funding that we received, the $500,000 towards our Broad Meadow Brook stream restoration project. We'll be daylighting part of that the area in addition to a few other projects. So we're really excited about that. Due to COVID, it is not a widely publicized event for attendance. It will be outside, weather pending, but we're really excited to get this kind of exposure and certainly to always have, the support of the congressman. He's such a great advocate in this work. So.
Thank you. And I missed the date on that. Sorry, when was that?
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm trying to get all the information in our notes here. This is great.
Hi, this is Patty again with Blackstone Valley Tourism Council, and we have a couple of updates. One is the office staff has fully moved from Pawtucket to Central Falls Landing. Please stop by and come take a tour of our office space. Stephanie, you're welcome to come by, and actually, if you want to set up, we do have space for you if you ever wanted to have a base operation on the Rhode Island side. You can use our observation deck if you like when the weather gets nice. It's really nice out there. I've been taking pictures. We are planning also to have an open house river event on June 11th. I don't think we've discussed time frame, but probably starting in the morning through noontime. And then our annual meeting will be June 23rd. And again, I don't have a time for that. But because I'm also up with other things happening in the Valley, I also wanted to share, and Stephanie, I did send you a link through Instagram, but the River's Edge Arts also got an NEA grant, and they're getting ready to do their bit on the river using that same Kitticuck Algonquin term for the Blackstone River, and it's basically Blackstone to Main Street in Woonsocket. Don't have details yet, but I will be reaching out to Brad over there at River's Edge Arts, because I think, I've been trying to get him connected to the collaborative with some of their stuff that they've done on the river, because they also do screen printing. So if you need t-shirts, they have, a team of students that they work with, and they've been doing this. This is their 25th anniversary year, I think. No, 20th, I forget, but they have an anniversary year coming up too. So I just wanted to share that. And I also wanted to just congratulate John. That film, I also got to preview it at the Rivers Council meeting, and it is beautiful. It's poetry in motion. For me as a poet, it was just an amazing thing, and look forward to sharing that information on our event calendar and promote it through Blackstone Valley Tourism. So I think it's well worth checking out. Actually, anything at Blackstone River Theater, by the way, is well worth checking out. The performances there that Russell brings in are great. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that space, please do.
Awesome. Thanks, Patty. Anybody else have other updates that you want to provide? Okay. So with that, if you think of other things, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. I wanted to spend some time thinking about these events that are coming up, because we keep saying we're going to do these third Saturday events from March to July, and we haven't planned them yet. We had it on the agenda for our last meeting, and we just had so much going on. I ended up having to cut that out because we had some really great speakers and questions and engagement, and I wanted to just have it on this meeting and spend time for that instead. Ray, I sent that out in the last meeting update. When I sent the notes, there was a contact list, but I can do it again for this meeting when I send those notes if you'd like, because a few people got back to me about changing their email or title, etc. So building off of what Ray said earlier, and Donna and Patty and everybody, we're having all these events coming up for the 50th anniversary of ZAP the Blackstone. It's also the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. And there's just a lot going on in 1972. So we want to be able to celebrate and get people out in the watershed. So there are the two really big events, right? There's August 27th, which is the cleanup, green up, wherever you are in the watershed, register your project, register your need if you're a community. And then there's the September 10th celebration down in Pawtucket in conjunction with the Pawtucket Arts Festival. So that will be more like music, food, booths, etc. But before that, this third Saturday thing, I know that we have John Marsland, who has agreed to do an event on April 16th. I think you wanted to do a hike and also highlight the Blue Mind. And Patty also volunteered to do a program on that same day, River as Muse, connecting to the river with poetry. We don't have a March event yet. I know, Jen, I talked to you a little bit about that, potentially doing something at Broadmeadow Brook. I know Martha's away right now, but I was wondering if I can get people on the hook for volunteering specific dates. You don't have to have all the details right now, but I wanted to try and hash some of those out. I also wanted to offer an opportunity if you're already hosting an event that happens to be on one of these days, March 19th, April 16th, May 21st, June 18th, and July 16th, or you wanted to host an event around that time anyway, if we can work together and overlap them, so we can cross-pollinate and cross-promote. So any events that you have coming up that we can work together on, or anyone that wants to host something on particularly March 19th, it doesn't have to be a big ask or a big lift. It could be a hike. It could be learning about a new project that you have. It could be highlighting some of the features at, you know, your space or your sanctuary or wherever it is, such as, you know, stormwater management. I could even do that myself at Broadmeadow Brook, having worked there for a few years. We could do storm drain stenciling. If you're in a municipality and you'd like to do storm drain stenciling, just let me know. I can contact your DPW. We can get some supplies. So
yeah, Stephanie, March is World Water Day, I think is right around that same time frame. And I did look up, the theme is groundwater. So I don't know if any of that ties to groundwater. That maybe, I mean, I don't know much about groundwater. I just know about water in general, but so I just wanted to throw that out there. So maybe one of the organizations that does work with groundwater can maybe put something together. But I don't know, storm stenciling sounds great to me. I know there are a few places down the Rhode Island side that need to be updated as well, but
so Jen, would you mind if I am the leader of a program at Broadmeadow Brook? Can I use your space and do it that day? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
Let me go back and talk with my staff. If you could just, send me an email so I can share that and what you're thinking. We aren't allowing people inside right now. That's our current guideline. So it would be outside, but that's what people are interested in anyway. So, weather-wise, that might not, we might have to have a pending date, but send me the details and I'll talk with my staff.
Okay, thank you. We love rain when we're talking about low impact development because you can see where all the water goes. It's great. The rain gardens fill up. Okay. Any other thoughts on programs that you're hosting that we can work with you on? People that want to volunteer for one of those days and do a program. When it gets warmer, I know I'm going to be talking to Rika as well. Emily, I don't know if you want to do something, new kayaks, getting people out on the water.
Stephanie, I wanted to talk to you and John about that April 16th, because I don't want to interfere with what John is doing. I wanted to sort of complement what he's doing with Blue Mind by offering to, it could be just that I'm there for people that are interested to learn, how they connect with poetry, or it doesn't even have to be a poem. They can just write, journal writing to the river, kind of looking what Emily is thinking about too. Like it could be just to kind of give a couple of prompts to instill, after they get done with the hike to, I don't know what his time frame was. So, maybe we could sit down, John, and talk about it, because I don't want to step on your toes, but I'd like to be able to, put something out there, and maybe it is something to kind of start that letter writing, idea of, giving gratitude to the river for all it's provided, asking for, offering apologies to the river for all that we've done to the river in the past, that kind of thing. So, so that's kind of my idea of, using the river as the muse to think about that kind of, and looking at what Emily's doing. So I kind of want to compliment what everybody else is doing by offering my services as a poet and a writer.
I can add in that the People Walk is going to be like after sunset, and the Blue Line Walk will probably be before sunset. So it's going to be late afternoon. So you're welcome to schedule anything you want during that day. I think we're going to be taking up the end of the day.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking if it was all right with you to do something in the beginning of the day, and I would still like to participate in your program at the end of the day, and if but yeah, maybe I can come by your space there and we can talk about it so that it kind of all kind of flows together.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
So John, are you doing 2 in 1 then? You're doing an afternoon about Blue Mind and an evening with Spring Peepers?
Yeah, I think that's how it'll work out. Is if you people that want to come for the Blue Line Walk, if you have a lot of time in between, maybe they should be kind of close together, the ending of that walk and the beginning of the People Walk, maybe, or have a little something to fill in for an hour between or something like that.
Well, that hour between could also be where we kind of, people that gather and they want to do both, they can kind of sit and reflect and write or something. But so I'm amenable to that too.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Yeah.
I was also going to offer, if you wanted to do them on, I don't want to take up all of your days, but if you wanted to do them on different days, you're welcome to as well. Blue Mind on one day. And then I know you wanted to specifically have April for the hike because of the peepers. Okay, you can think about it. And Deb, if you want to introduce yourself, because we didn't have you when we first did introductions.
Was that me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm on a train, so it's not always so perfect connection. Going across Indiana. But anyway, it occurred to me that a program, and this will make me follow up on it. The city has done a beautiful new boardwalk around the far edge of Salisbury Pond at Institute Park, and there are wonderful interpretive signs there too. And they talk about the pond and its history, some of its environmental challenges, the fact that it was dammed up for the Blackstone Canal. So it would be a nice event for the collaborative to be a co-sponsor of, we should. So I'll report back because I'm not sure the signs are installed quite yet, but I'm sure they'll be in soon. And that would be something I think would be really educational and inspiring too.
Yeah, thanks, Deb. I didn't realize that the signage was going to be so good there, but it is really pretty, definitely. So if it doesn't make sense to do it for March, maybe we can put that on for, May or June. And if anyone's a bike person and wants to host an event, I can also reach out to some bike groups. But I know May is National Bike Month. Bonnie is great at keeping track of all these different events and dates.
Stephanie, I just wanted to mention the Tourism Council. We were going to hold our open house on that third Saturday because that's
great
Rivers Day, but it's actually we're not because we didn't want to interfere with another event going on in the valley down in Cumberland. It's the Summer Solstice Festival that the Blackstone River Theater hosts every year, and that is held on this third Saturday. I don't know if that could be the third event, celebrating the summer solstice. And I'm hoping to go check out one of their concerts this weekend. So I'm going to try to have a conversation with Russell over there because, the name of the theater, Blackstone River Theater, it's, they started actually at Central Falls Landing. That's how they get the name. But so because it is a big event and they've had to cancel for the past 2 years because of COVID. So we didn't want to, I personally suggested to our office not to take away their time. So that's why we moved ours to, I think is the second Saturday, June 11th. But just throw that out there that June 18th, there is that Summer Solstice Festival, and they often are searching for vendors and people to want to set up tables. So again, I can try and connect you guys.
That'd be perfect. I think that's the goal, is to highlight the existing work that's going on, not to make things harder for people. So that would be amazing if you could send me a connection.
And generally the Eastern Medicine Singers have generally opened the Summer Solstice Festival in the past. So I'm assuming they'll be back, but I'll find out, which would be great. And the Blackstone River Theater, of course, is hosting John's event in April. So maybe, I don't know if that's the third Saturday, but that could be the April. Oh, that's another event in April. We got so many events in April.
There are a lot.
But that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
Yep. Okay. How about a little bit later in July? Does anyone have events that they're looking to host in July? If anyone wants to do a cleanup in your community, I am volunteering myself for all of these different things. If you want help. You guys are not a quiet group. Come on. Someone has to have an area in town you want to do a cleanup. Your DPW wants to do storm drain stenciling, a project at your organization that you want to highlight or do a presentation on, or do a tour or a walk. Nothing? Okay.
Maybe we'll have to reach out to Bonnie to find out what month that is. I tend to look those things up too, but it could be an ice cream social with a cleanup with an ice cream social afterwards. Cause I don't know if, I think July is ice cream month, but I'm not sure.
Every month would be ice cream month. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
You have to invent some Zap ice cream, Ray.
Yeah.
Great idea.
We recently had a talk with a group of foresters that I work with through the Massachusetts Ecosystem Climate Adaptation Network, and they wanted an icebreaker question. So as we went around, everyone said their favorite ice cream flavor. And let me tell you, it got to be a really interesting conversation. People started going off about why they had their favorite ice cream flavor. And then some people were very specific about where they got it from. And several people noted, they were all over the country. So they noted several particular ice cream places that were in Chicago or in Vermont or in wherever. And that's what it ended up as at the end, was we need to do a forest walk with an ice cream social, and that really brought people together. Oh, what is that? Is this the one that talks about the maple one? No. Nick, I'm looking at your.
Oh, I just put in the chat, there's a super fun site in Brooklyn that has a ice cream inspired flavor that they use to drum up interest in restoration and improving a canal, in this case in Brooklyn. It's actually a very good ice cream flavor too, as an aside.
That sounds pretty good. I would love to do an ice cream social though. And then there was another comment. Peter Kaufman, I could schedule a public program about the river in July or August, but it has to be at a park service node, a node of park service, Hopedale, Slatersville, Whitensville, I think you mean, or Ashton. That would be great. If you want to take, if July 16th works for you, Peter, Slatersville, and then Wright's Dairy Farm. This is why we need to come together, guys. All right. So, Peter, if that works for you, we can do July 16th ice cream social and learn about the park at Slatersville. I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. All right. So that does give us actually May doesn't have anything. I think I might reach out to some groups and do something with a bike group in May since it's bike month. Probably maybe like Walk Bike Worcester, or if you guys know of others in other parts of the watershed, let me know, shoot me an email, and I can reach out to them and see who can do it. Peter, you said it has to be in a park note. I think what Patty meant was that we could get ice cream and then go to Slatersville or buy ice cream from there and provide it at Slatersville. Thank you, Donna or Pat. Did you have something else? You raised your hand.
Sorry, me again?
Yeah, did you raise your hand?
I did. I was just thinking that this is a Mass Audubon event, but we're always looking at ways to make it more fun and engaging to more people, which is our annual Birdathon event in May. But, you know, birding the Blackstone, we've done birding and biking the Blackstone. Maybe we could have a real focus on the birds of the Blackstone Valley, Blackstone Watershed, Worcester to Rhode Island. We could partner with Rhode Island Audubon and see if we could have sort of an event that's complementary of our Birdathon that gets more people out seeing what they can see in their very own Blackstone Valley.
Sounds great. And can you remind me, is Birdathon, it's over a specific weekend, right?
Yeah, it's a 24-hour period, and it's usually like the 13th or 14th. I don't have it off the top of my head. Somebody else might. But it's you start Friday night and you end Saturday. It's 6 to 6 usually, unless something's changed. So, you know, and it doesn't need to be for super duper birders. It's supposed to be just, you know, really get out and have fun and see what you can see.
Awesome. I will follow up with you on that too.
Okay.
Other thoughts, ideas? I know ZAP is doing a ton of outreach and information already. If you wanted to host a specific program about ZAP and, you know, highlighting those dates later, or do like a mini cleanup and sort of getting people's interest before that, you're welcome to. Again, I'm not trying to give everybody more work. I just want to connect to what you're already doing and highlight the good work that exists. But just an opportunity. Thanks, Patty. Full of information. Annual backyard bird count starts today and runs through February 25th. People want to do their backyard bird count. I know we're still kind of living in COVID times where people are not always indoors. Devin, do you have any events coming up that we should know about or highlight?
I think Dick covered most everything that we're involved in. If you visit our Facebook page, there's a ton of information about the Great Bird Count that started today, as well as a training by Rhode Island Audubon.
Awesome. I will put that in that too. Okay, well, I don't have to keep you guys until noon. We can end early for once. My goodness, usually we run out of time and we go over, so this is new. Thank you everybody for participating and all your engagement in the chat and the comments and ideas here. If you think of anything else, please feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Emily about her work. We have lots of good job postings and events coming up. We do not have a calendar of events, but I have been adding some things to the Blackstone Collaborative's website page for events. I think the ZAP is creating a calendar, so thank you guys. I probably don't have the capacity to keep one up to date properly, but I will send out all the events in the notes. So with that, we'll give you an extra few minutes back of your day, and have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy the warm weather.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.